All right, so here I am hanging out with my brother Lucky. What's up, Lucky?
What's up?
Lucky's an independent artist. We're hanging out here in Southern California, and tell us a little bit about how you have managed to actually arrange at the DIY sort of independent level a few tours in your history as an original artist. Give us a couple breakdowns about how you actually went about doing that.
Well, being an independent artist these days means you have to wear many different hats. And that means that every tour you go on has to be very prepared. You start out with your set list, a mix of covers and originals, which it should always be balanced out with as many originals as you have. You should have that many covers because you don't know what type of venue or what type of audience you're going to be playing to. So what we would do is we would always have at least 2 hours of material. And then what we did as far as setting up the tour was honestly get on Google Maps and look at all the major cities that you would like to be able to hit on tour. Kind of plan basically like a skeleton of those places that you want to visit. And then instead of just going to the major cities and hitting like the largest venues that you can, because as an independent artist sometimes you don't have full in that area, what you would do is you would actually even just call up the local music stores and ask about some of the local bands that are playing around and what venues they're playing at. In a lot of cases, you'll actually get a musician that works at that store, and immediately you're getting contacts as far as what places are commonly played. And then you break those down based upon what genre of music is normally played there. And you find those venues that kind of coincide with what genre you are. So what we do is, after we got the skeleton of where we wanted to go and then contacted those managers and the promoters, then we would go to those local bands and we would say, hey, we're playing a show. We'd love to have you on the bill. Then we'd place ourselves in the middle of those two bands. Whichever one, you go to their Facebook, their MySpace, their Reverb Nation, whatever site they have, and you look to see who has the largest pool. And you put them as the headliner, and you put you in between, and then you put an opener in that area to play that show. Now this helps for several different reasons because number one, instead of playing a show where it's just you and you have to do all of this promotion, these local bands are going to bring their friends. And putting yourself in the middle of the show means that you're going to sell merchandise because that's the only way you can pay for gas and all of these things on tour is by selling your product. So your EP, your flash drives, your cup holders, whatever you have. So being in the
So
middle,
you're usually not getting guarantees from the club, right?
well, it depends. If you talk to the promoter and you're serious enough, you can always get a guarantee. But sometimes you have to be able to learn how those mannerisms work for you on a phone conversation. Because this is not something where you're talking to someone face to face. You have to be a completely different person on the phone. Again, it comes to like wearing those hats, wearing the kind of like the managerial hat and making sure that you let them know that you're not just preparing for them a show for your one band. You're putting on an entire show. For us, we always worked with guarantees, but that was because we had the experience on the phone to do that. If not, then the merchandise is a surefire way, regardless of whether you're getting a guarantee, to make that money in order to sustain yourself on tour.
What do you guys travel in?
We travel in an expedition. The reason being is because if you have anything lower than a V6, then you're not going to be able to pull a trailer and be able to afford it. Because
Okay.
those engines are overworked, then you have maintenance. So you have to get at least a V8 or above. Now it's easy to get a van, or in our case an expedition, that does actually pull a trailer. And what we did is we only went 55 miles an hour wherever we went, and that gave us a much more consistent gas consumption so that we were able to kind of budget out exactly how much we needed to get to the next show. And these are all things that we knew before we went on tour as well.
Where did you stay?
It was always via a hotel room, and that is always something, even if you're not getting paid, to absolutely work out with the promoter or manager.
Okay.
Because these venues almost always have a card or something where they get discounts for bands to come through, and if you're assertive enough, you can always get a place.
What
to
did you
stay.
eat?
On tour, we want to be very kind of health conscious. So we would never really eat at fast food restaurants. It was always via groceries. So we had a nice cooler that we had bought that fit in the back end of the expedition. And we filled that with the food that we got on tour, and that was budgeted as well. On average, we spent about $100 a week for 4 guys.
Wow.
Yeah.
And on top of all that, when you come home, you got, a lot of experience. The band is tighter. Hopefully you sold some merch. But, of course, hopefully you visited some radio stations. You visited some retail stores. You've actually collected a lot of email addresses. You made some contacts, too, as well, right?
Absolutely. That's the biggest thing on tour is networking as well. When you're not playing a show on tour, you're not making money because you're not getting a guarantee or selling merch. So you have to be able to, if the show drops out, or even if you have a few days off, it's always awesome to sightsee, but that's stuff that can be done in the evening. Yeah. During the day, you have to find out coffee shops, radio stations. Actually, venues that we found were very responsive were Starbucks. Okay. Just talking to the manager and saying, hey, we'd love to just put out a tip jar and play some music. And again, that comes to your set list, having some covers, preferably acoustic for that environment, that you can play that people will love. And at one Starbucks in Seattle, we actually made $1,300 just in tips in one day.
All right, that's nice. Yeah.
And so it was awesome, and that all came from just being able to speak to the manager and get it okay.
Good deal. So to kind of summarize, what you guys do is, you put together enough music, both covers and originals. Then you go out and you start calling different venues along the map that you sort of want to travel. But when you do that, you actually kind of approach it from the perspective of finding other local bands that are already successful there and partnering up with them. So you're kind of coming in with the extra strength of being associated with bands that already draw.
Absolutely.
And you kind of squeeze there in the middle. And you starve a little bit on the road. You diet a little bit on the road, and do a lot of work on the road. You come back, a tighter band, more connections, right? All that good stuff.
More fans.
All right, there you go, bros. So here we are hanging out with Lucky. We got to hear one woohoo. Woo-hoo. All right, man. Thanks, brother. Yeah.